Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going to be going over WuChang Fallen Feathers as an initial look. So I'll work on talking about this some more if I can actually get through the game. But I have played about 8 hours so far. I've gone through some of the bosses in the game. Two mini bosses, two main bosses, and I have found one more main boss that I'm currently working on. And you're going to see some of that gameplay here. Yeah, WuChang overall is like a Sekiro, Liza P style of game. Okay, it has got some of that aspects of Dark Souls in there that we all recognize, but it's more like Sekiro or Liza P because there are no shields to block. And then parrying is available, but only through weapon types and also weapon skills. So parrying is not available completely for everybody, like it is in Sekiro or even Liza P. So your main thing to avoid damage is just to dodge. Weapons also have upgradable slots. They have 3 of them. Each one is specific. There's also magic and spells in the game. There's disciplines too that you work on unlocking in the game, depending on what type of weapon you have. And each weapon has different disciplines to it. And you can continue to enhance and improve these, but it takes time. There's also temperance, which is also adding elemental damage to your weapon. And you get to unlock those as you get to find more items for your temperance. Overall, the majority of the game is pretty fun, very reminiscent of Dark Souls like type of game. There's also armor sets too to help you negate and reduce also damage types, or taking on damage from different weapon and elements. The skill tree is huge. So there's like 7 different branches, and there's also skills related to different weapons. And as you start from the center and work your way out, you realize that there's basically like hundreds of nodes. It looks incredibly big. And these are basically to increase your health, upgrade your health flask, increase your strength, your disciplines for your weapons, etc. But the bulk of your progression through the game is going to be through your skill as a player. Learning the game, learning the weapons, learning the skills, figuring out your play style, learning the movements of different enemies and stuff, and looking for what traps look like. The most challenging parts of the game is the tight window for dodging. It's maybe not as tight as Sekiro, and maybe it's about kind of as tight as Liza P, maybe a little tighter than Liza P, and it's definitely also tighter, I believe, than Elden Ring. The range at which enemies can see you is kind of insane. We're not used to this. Reminds me of games from like the 2000s, but yeah, they can see you from pretty far away. And they also follow you for a while too. It's not like you can just turn a couple corners and they're done following you, but they'll also follow you up ladders, stairs, whatever. Doesn't matter. There's also many ambush points and traps that you have to take care of. Some of them are pretty easy to see, but again, there's also a lot of hidden enemies in the game and a lot of tight areas and corners. And sometimes too, you're also fighting that camera in third person. The demon is honestly brutal. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to spoil it for you, but my word, that is the hardest enemy in the game. Being able to dodge multiple enemies at the same time is pretty challenging. Or having to deal with a melee guy and a ranged guy at the same time, that's also challenging too. That's probably more frustrating and annoying than anything else. To a degree, it's also kind of difficult to find out exactly where to go or what to do or exactly what's next. So take time to poke around. The passages, there's a lot of branches, there's a lot of dead ends too, but there's a lot of paths that don't really look that important that bring you to completely a different area in the game that you couldn't even see before. Because they do a lot of coverage up high and around you with trees and plants and bamboo, cliff faces. So yeah, it's not like you can really stand up on a precipice very often and look out over the map and figure out stuff. You also don't have any kind of a map in the game, so everything's got to be basically done through memory. You are able to teleport and transport through kind of different like bonfires or sites of grace. You can think of them like that. They call them shrines. And so you can at least teleport, which is nice. So far, the bosses have usually been pretty easy. With the current one that I'm at, I feel like there's some cheese moves or some kind of cheater moves that the boss has, and yeah, that just makes it more difficult. And then two, the bosses are definitely getting a heck of a lot more health than the first few that I had. So But again, it's just that repetition, and yeah, you'll be able to get through it. Overall, the world is also big and beautiful. Again, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies to get through. You can work through some of the buildings. Sometimes there's multiple layers, but like the whole world itself has a ton of layers upon layers and layers. And it's yeah, it's beautiful to kind of see and look around and all of that stuff. It's pretty cool. There are also shortcuts in the game, so be sure to look for those. So again, that's another reason to explore. The biggest issue with the game right now is performance. There's frame drops, there's stutter when you're playing, especially the more open it is or the more that's going on the screen or even turning the camera. You can see some of that stuttering pretty badly. Or if there's like a structure or building like one of the temples that's in your view, a lot of that stuff again tries to render and does not work very well. And I will say that I am playing on Xbox Series X just for reference. So it is frustrating during a boss fight or certain enemies or while you're turning the camera and you see one of those kind of wider open areas or you see some more buildings come into the screen or view. And again, you get some of that stutter and chittering on your screen, and that can screw with your combat. I'll talk a little bit more about the pixelation and the optimization issues that WuChang Fallen Feathers has. And just for some context, streaming takes a required amount of upload speed, and depending on what your resolution is that you're trying to capture at, and also the resolution that your TV settings are at. But I want you to see this picture here. As you can see, this is something that I captured literally just tonight for this video. So this right here, for the settings that I'm using, is that streaming is captured at 720p, and my TV resolution output is also at 720p. And it does look fairly good. Okay, it could be better, but this is what it is. And just for context, my upload speed, generally speaking, is somewhere between probably 36, 37, up to 42, somewhere in there, megabits per second. Well, when there's a lot happening on the screen, or multiple attacks, or extra splatter, or whatever, it looks like this. And if you want to see this for yourself, if you want to see the pixelation, I have multiple captures of WuChang Fallen Dynasty, and you can also see my tests there if you're curious at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. But yeah, this is kind of insane on how pixelated that is. And this is the same area. I'm wearing exactly the same stuff. Her hairstyle is the same. Everything. And you can see the little teeny pieces here of where I'm actually attacking. I think this is my blade. Or no, that's the rope. Holy cow. That the rope is here somewhere, right? And my blade is somewhere. Maybe my blade is coming up or over. I don't quite remember. But just the pixelation on that is insane. So usually streaming at 720p and my TV setting at 1080p, it has fixed basically my pixelation issues for a lot of streaming because I had to do a lot of testing earlier. But now seeing this, the optimization in this game is horrible. There's so much going on in the background, and it requires quite a bit more upload speed than what I have, or to lower the resolution down to like 480p in order to be able to capture. And it's just kind of insane. That should give you an idea of how unoptimized this game is. And the game is built in Unreal Engine 5, and Expedition 33 was as well, and that was optimized pretty well, except for the beginning of the game. But seeing this, yeah, WuChang, it definitely needs some optimization, and it's, it's pretty bad. It's just taking a look at Steam itself. As you can see, it's at a 40% right here, and it's gone up a few percent since people have been playing. We've added 7,000 more reviews to it. So it's gone up a few more percent. And as far as I know, we don't have any patches yet. Again, it's only been really the first week. 35,000 currently playing on a weekday. And as you can see with the week that it's at, is that it started really strong. And then it's been trailing off ever since. So we had a peak of 131,000. And now we've had a peak of 68,000. Again, this drops off like 1,000 or a few thousand pretty much every day. So yeah, several thousand or maybe even 10,000 every day, depending on where you're comparing. And when you break down most of the reviews, a lot of these are coming out of China. And they do have sanctions on what type of GPUs they do have access to, so they're probably playing on some older hardware. And even on some of the newer stuff, like the 40 series, it still really doesn't run or play that great. And this game is built in Unreal Engine 5. So this is an Unreal Engine issue that a lot of devs struggle with, is that the engine can be pretty heavy, and if you don't know how to optimize it, um, or improve that performance for it to run on the machine, it's going to be pretty challenging. So on Xbox, it's pretty playable. On the Series X, I would not play this on the Series S. Performance mode is really the only mode that I can play on. Quality mode, I don't even see a difference in the texture resolutions or like draw distance or anything like that, which is kind of insane. And then, but yeah, there is definitely stuff happening on the screen because again, I'm cutting my frames in half. Sometimes it feels like even less than, more than that. So again, with not having that difference, just keep it in performance mode and play the game, but you're still going to have that stuttering anyway. Some of the textures too in the game also look a little unfinished, especially like the hay and some other objects and also some clothing as well. Generally, all of the weapons and the AoE and the spells, they all look really good, or any of the effects that are happening in the game. Sometimes there's like buffs or other things on your body, kind of like a glow or whatever. Again, all of that stuff looks really, really good. But yeah, some of the clothing and some of the other objects, they don't really look that great. And yeah, to a degree, they also look unfinished. The sound design is actually pretty good. The voice acting won't win any awards, and the music I feel like actually fits pretty well with the game. Overall, I'm at a 6 out of 10, and even with getting some more hours, as this is a redo, I still feel that way. I still feel like this is a 6 out of 10. It's still pretty good. Again, with some of the performance issues, maybe not quite worth the full $50 price tag. But even if you paid $50, it's still fairly okay in my opinion. But yeah, this would probably be worth like $35 or $40 to maybe most people. But yeah, it's a little above average, and the big thing that holds it back is really the performance. But like the combat is pretty satisfying. The bosses feel pretty easy so far, but I expect that to ramp up and challenge later, like it already has with the current boss that I'm on right now. But yeah, performance gets in the way the most. But there's different ways to also play the game. There's different combat styles. There's different things that you can adjust and tweak. There's also different spells in the game, different weapons, different disciplines. There's in your temperance, and I mean, you can really kind of mold and shift a lot of the stuff. But it will take you a long time to actually build that because you need a certain material to unlock a lot of the nodes in your skill tree, and so that feels like it's really slow progression. I think I've only really unlocked 3 nodes so far in 8 hours. So pretty slow progression. That I guess that would be a contentious point too. So yeah, overall, if you're on PC, I'd wait for patches. If you're on Xbox or PlayStation, yeah, I'd go ahead and pick it up and play it if you're waiting, or if you like Dark Souls-like games. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also follow me over at Twitch at Don't Shut On The, and then also on YouTube. Don't forget our playlist. There's a lot of stuff. And if you enjoyed the vid, hey, don't just like, sub, and comment and all that jazz, but also share the content too. That really helps out us YouTubers. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.